Hello, what is up guys? Evil Doers Time here today, back with another video game review. I haven't done one of these in a while, but today we're going to be taking a look at the Elyon closed beta test that just went live for NA and EU regions this past weekend. So I've been live streaming this on my Twitch and YouTube channels, and I figured since the beta is coming to an end, it's about time to go ahead and make my first impressions review and show you all the different systems in this game, so you can get an idea of how you may or may not like it. Now, as many of you know, I do not do sponsored content, so this is going to reflect my true thoughts of this game. I'm going to go through and show you a bunch of different stuff with as little bias as possible. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it, and let's start off with character creation and what we have available to us as a character playset here. So there are 5 classes. We have the Warlord, which is your big melee tank type class, your Elementalist, which is your mage type class. You then have the Mystic, which is your healer. You have an Assassin as your melee DPS class, and you have your Gunner as your sort of ranged DPS class. Each of these classes are not gender locked or race locked. You have 4 different races available to you. So the first is the human, second is the elf, third are the small tiny little animal things, fourth are the orcs. Once again, everything except for the small little animals has multiple genders, so you can swap between the 2. So the character creator itself has a few different presets you can select from once you hop on into it, and then you can go ahead and customize the character any amount you want. One thing to note on males is that the mustache looks really strange. Like really strange. But once you're in the character creator, you have your different typical options that you're used to. So a bunch of hairstyles, you can adjust your hair color however you'd like. You've got skin color adjustments, you can adjust the tone of your color of your skin. Facial features can be adjusted as well. There's a simple and detailed form, so you can have pretty solid customization and control over how the appearance of your character is created. You've got body sliders. You can preview different outfits at the bottom here, so you'll see what your character looks like as you play through the game. So all in all, lots of different things to take a look at and mess around with in the character creation. Now, as far as how these different classes play, I was able to play 3 of the 5 classes up into the mid-30s, and I also tried out the other 2 classes into the mid-20s, just so I had a pretty solid understanding of the different skills that were going to become available to those classes, try out a bunch of those different skills, and get a general feel for them. And I have to say it's interesting. Every single class appears to have multiple ways that you can play the class. The way that you can build your builds and set up your skill bar at the bottom down there allows you to try different things. Definitely an interesting and unique way to character progression, I must say. Like, for example, my Assassin, I played as a completely ranged character that's throwing shurikens instead of using the stabby thing. But we're going to get into some combat gameplay and show those menus off in a few seconds. The first thing I want to do is go through the UI, so I'm going to hide my webcam right now so we can take a look at the different elements on it. Bottom left corner, we have your typical chat that you see in any MMO. There's 2 different types of chat, plus your region chat that you can type into. Pretty typical system. Bottom left corner, you got your chat. Below that, you have your character quick access information here. So you got your level, your EXP written out right here. Name, your gold, your item gear score, and honor points, all available to you down here. Health, stamina, energy, all available to you down here, directly underneath your character. Pretty typical location for a lot of different MMOs. Along the bottom skill set menu here, you have your skill bar. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Q, E, R, T, left mouse, right mouse, and Z and X for your buttons, as well as a tab ability. Every class seems to have a unique tab ability available to them. So right now I'm on my Mystic, which is a healing ability, a recovery ability. And then you can put whatever skill you want in whatever slot in these different hotbar numbers. This is your typical MMO where you're casting numbers off of the keyboard or off of an MMO gaming mouse to perform all of your different skills. And you kind of run through a rotation of those abilities along the hotbars. It is a nice system that you can customize it however you want, because you can put like your auto attack on a regular button instead and put a different ability on your auto attack. Does allow a lot of customization capabilities. Bottom right corner, you have potions and other quick access items, like including my mount, which is a hoverboard that you can ride around on, so that's pretty neat. Right side, we have our quest menu, which is pretty typical for any MMO, your map up in the top right corner. You can swap between different channels in the top corner, so if you ever play Blade and Soul, same sort of system. If you're in a server where there's a ton of people and you can't find any mobs to kill, you can swap channels and find stuff to take care of. Then we have quick access menus across the top here for the different menus in the game. I brings up your inventory as well as your inventory management system here, so you can see your different gear slots, what's equipped on them, what runes you have, which are kind of like your gems in just about any other game you've ever played. You got your accessory slots. You have this unique rune system, which we'll take a look at here in a second as well. And if you press the P key on the keyboard, you have your character overview. So pretty straightforward, simple, universal system that you've seen like in every other MMO you've ever played. There are life skills available in this game. There is Foraging Mastery. I don't particularly know what this ends up impacting at the end. I did some fishing for a little while, didn't really gain anything, didn't know what I was doing it for, and called it a day. Haven't tried any of the other skills right here because didn't really see any reason to. But on first glance, first impression doesn't seem like it's a super critical component to the gameplay of this game. Also, if you hop over into their Q&A session from April 23rd of 2021 and search for life skills, you will see that there are no confirmed life skills beyond this basic gathering and fishing. However, they do have plans to add more into the game, so right here in the middle of the screen that I'm circling with my mouse right now. So I briefly mentioned the Rune System in the game. Let's quickly go through this because it is a pretty unique mechanic and pretty interesting. Basically, while you're out playing the game and doing various quests, you're going to get these little tiny circles. These circles can be slotted into the various colors that they match with on your gear pieces as you unlock them. You can upgrade these circles to higher tiers to accomplish more points in the Rune Attribute System. In the Rune Attribute System, as you stack various stones of the same color, you're allowed to choose different options within each of these little skill trees to customize your character further. So if you're a support type class, you can pick through the support tree, try to socket gear that has all green stones in it. You want to be a damage dealer, you can go with the assault and control paths. If you're a fan of RNG, you've got these RNG proc ones in the Fate tab. Protection for tankiness and Awakening amplifies and modifies your class by giving you a huge bonus but also taking away something from you. So pretty unique system that allows for really solid build customization on your character. Speaking of build customization, let's take a look at the skills menu in the game. So this is an interesting system as well. Basically, you have your different skills, you can drag and drop them anywhere on your hotbar that you want, and you get these various skill attribute points. These skill attribute points can be used to modify the various skills that you have, to change what they do, make them stackable, change their elemental damage type, or give them other unique and wacky bonuses. Definitely interesting and definitely allows for a lot of build customization. You're not locked into like one spec or the other, or one skill tree. You can take some ranged abilities, some melee abilities. You don't have to play it exactly how it forces you to, say. You don't have a specific tree line that you have to follow. So pretty cool. You basically get your skills and set it up however you want. Alright, so now let's get into some gameplay itself and take a look at what we got going on. And first thing you're going to notice is the graphics of the game. They're not terrible, they're not world beaters, it sits somewhere in between. The game is running on Unreal Engine 3, so it is a definitely older game engine right now in this closed beta test. This is the same game engine that both Blade and Soul and Terra are running on. The only time that I really had any major frame drops was when I was doing this boss fight here and the other boss fight I did during my live stream the other day. You can see that there's pretty solid amount of just flashiness and all sorts of stuff going on screen. Frames were dropping pretty hard during this. Doesn't look too bad in the VOD back because it's only in 30 FPS, but definitely was having some issues getting through all of this. Definitely felt really laggy on the input. Now moving explicitly onto the combat, this had to have been the most polarizing issue in any of the live stream videos that I had up this weekend. And I'm going to try to step through this to give you a generic overview without being biased whatsoever during this. Basically, you have different skills that have different types of targeting mechanisms. Some skills are guided and forced, typical to your tab targeting systems. Some are AoEs that you drop on the ground, and some are AoEs that you have to manually drop on the ground and aim as you're continuing to cast them. There is a balance between tab targeting and full-on action type combat. Somebody coined it very well during the live stream as action tab combat. Once again, skills are not cast by entering keyboard combinations and whatnot. You cast them through a hotbar sort of system. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all across the bottom down on this menu here. With all of this said, the majority of your skills are going to automatically target whatever you're trying to target. So all you do is walk up to a mob and you will get a circle around it, similar to like combat in Blade and Soul, for example, where your skill is now being targeted towards this mob. If you walk over to another one, it'll be targeted on that one and then that one. So instead of hitting tab to target between different things, it is sort of driven by where you're looking, but your skills are going to automatically adjust to hit that target. So like I'm looking way over here, automatically adjust that skill to reach the target that I'm trying to fight. That was an AoE that I had to place myself, so I can place some AoEs. Some AoEs are targeted for you automatically where you don't have to place them. Other abilities you can aim around fully, so like right here I have an AoE that I can drop to place that ability. Same thing with this one, another AoE drop ability that I have to manually cast. Same thing with this one, it'll go wherever I aim it. So there is a balance between abilities that auto-target and abilities that are manually aimed. Just generically combat-wise, it's your typical MMO, you know, use a ranged ability, group, pull, and then try and drop a bunch of damage on top of them when you have them all sort of CC'd or whatnot to be able to get your EXP and points and all that. So typical MMO in that fashion, right? And just to show you some gameplay footage so you can see how another class might play here in the game. So I'm playing as my assassin ninja thing here. And I'm going to go ahead and, you know, drop some AoEs on the ground, throw some different bombs, throw some kunai out, just a similar playstyle, right? Just because I like ranged characters, but you can see that there's some variety to the skills. They do different animations. You got different sorts of things you can do. Like you got this Darth Maul, little Darth Sidious action going on. I know that the lightning was Chancellor Palpatine. Do you guys know how hard it is to come up with words while you're actually playing? But anyway, that just gives you a little overview of what the combat is like in the game, right? So, as far as what content you have to do with this different content, so far I have been playing through the story, and I've played through the story on multiple characters at this point. And basically all it does is it guides you through the different grinding zones in the game based on your level. In order to progress to the next zone, you need to complete a certain portion of the quests in the region that will allow you to level up to the level for the next zone. Pretty straightforward. You work your way from the right side of the map over to the left. There are two factions in this game. We have the red team and the blue team. These two factions are at war against each other, and you have a conflict zone down here in this middle region where you can intrude on each other's zones and fight each other to the death and all of that fun stuff. So there is open world PvP in this game based on factions and which faction you chose at the start of the game. As far as endgame sorts of content that you have to look forward to this, you do have dungeons that you can play in right here. So there are 1-player dungeons, aka like a solo dungeon. You also have 3-player dungeons that you can play through, and 5-player dungeons. These dungeons have various loot that they drop. Pretty straightforward, a simple system that you're pretty much well used to. You have auto matchmaking system, you get to pick your role that you want to play as in the dungeon. And yeah, so basically it's your typical MMO in the sense that you're going to go from location to location, kill a bunch of stuff, do some quests, continue to level up until you get to the end game with your dungeons, or your PvP, which they call Realm versus Realm. So if you look at the Q&A session that we were looking at not too long ago, you will see that the primary endgame content is the R versus R battling. However, there are a few dungeons as we've already shown you, but at the moment this is their primary content. However, if we hop over into their Discord server, and we ask about the addition of PvE content such as guild content, dungeons, and whatnot, they're working on adding a raid as well that's a 20-player raid. So they're working on different PvE content that'll come out, but on this initial beta test here, all we got are those few dungeons, walking around and questing, and the R versus R combat battling and all that crap. And the final thing I want to mention before I stop this review is that you can fly and glide in this game. Don't really know where to put it in the video because it doesn't really have a clear spot, but you can glide and buzz around the area on a little wing set there, so that's pretty cool. And that is going to do it for my overview of the content that is currently available in this closed beta test, which is probably going to leave you with a few questions. The first one on your mind is probably going to be, what is the monetization model for this game? The game is going to be buy to play with in-game purchases per the FAQ section here in the Discord. Also, if we go over to the other Q&A section here, how much character customization can we do without purchasing an appearance change? The only way to customize your character after it's been creating is by using an appearance change item. So you're going to have to buy that sort of stuff off the marketplace, so there's definitely going to be cosmetic stuff in the shop on the Western version of the game. They are going to adapt it to the Western audience, though, apparently, so we'll see how much adaptation actually happens. As it stands, I couldn't find a shop in here, a cash shop in the beta test here, so I don't know what it's going to look like on the Western side, or I'm just dumb, which is also a probability, and I just couldn't find it here on the start menu. So now there's two more big questions that I see a lot of players having that aren't directly able to be answered from the beta, but are also touched on in their Q&A section here. And by the way, both Q&As are linked in the description below, so you can check them out on your own if you want to see more. But the first one is the time to get yourself geared. It's this bullet point right here. They expect 1 month to be decently geared and 3 months to have top tier gear. No indication of how much play this actually contains, so whether you're playing 24/7 or you're slamming through dailies every day and you're like really busy, or if it's a casual type play, so no actual idea on that. But the game makers themselves do have an idea for how long it should take you to reach those goals. The second option, as I just touched on, is going to be about dailies and doing dailies and having to do this every single day in a fixed schedule. And they said that it's a tough subject, but they plan to create a way to automatize this system in the future. And those are the big ones I want to touch on in this video. Obviously, once again, both Q&As are going to be linked in the description so you can read through them on your own. Alright, so with all of that overview out of the way, let's go ahead and summarize everything that we've looked at and give you my final little review of this beta. Once again, only a beta here. The game seems pretty typical to those MMORPGs you might have played a few years back. During the live streams, everybody was hinting at, oh my gosh, feels like Terra, oh my gosh, looks like Blade and Soul, oh my gosh, looks like Guild Wars. Oh my gosh, looks like WildStar. Everyone had their own game that they were connecting this one back to, which I don't think is a necessarily bad thing. It is by the same people who did make Terra, so you'll probably feel a lot of similarities if you really did enjoy the game Terra. The game itself doesn't do anything incredibly unique to make it stand out way apart from anything, but it also doesn't do anything terribly wrong to make me say, oh my gosh, this is never one you ever want to play. I definitely think it's going to be a solid MMO. I think people are going to have fun with it. But I also don't know that it's going to appeal to everyone, right? The same things that strike back nostalgia in older games that you might have played with a sort of new skin, per se. aren't necessarily the world beaters that everybody's looking for to be the big WoW killer. So with that being said, I'm definitely interested in finding my way into another beta test of this game to see how it progresses and improves on the NA and EU versions. But as far as recommending this as a must-buy, I think I have to see a bit more from the game. I want to see more of how the cash app's going to work and how endgame is actually going to look when they add in more of these features that they've been talking about. But once again, as I said, it's definitely not a bad game. It's actually probably above average as far as ratings that I would give games. And based on that, I would urge you guys next time that there is a beta available to try and find your way in to give it a shot yourself. Since it is going to be a buy-to-play model, definitely going to want to check it out before you decide to invest your money into it. Anyway guys, if this video is going to help you to overview and check out the game, do let me know in the comment section below. If you think I did a bad job, also let me know. And if you think I did an okay job of presenting it pretty neutrally, do let me know as well. Thank you all so much for watching once again. I'll see you at the next live stream over on Twitch, the next YouTube video right here, or wherever I happen to see you. Peace.